The library smelled of smoke and scorched parchment. Ash drifted through the air, the ledger heavy in Elena's trembling hands. The regent's body lay twisted, lifeless, but his final words echoed in her skull. "The circle is larger than you know." The masked woman tugged at her arm. "We have to go. Now." Clara lingered by the fallen regent, her hands trembling as if torn between loyalty and survival. For the first time, Elena saw her mask completely stripped away, not the smiling handler, not the cold spy, just a woman caught in terror. "Elena," Clara whispered, her voice cracking. "If you run now, you'll be hunted forever. The circle doesn't forgive." Elena's reply was firm, steady. "Then let them hunt." They slipped into the corridors, footsteps echoing against marble. The mansion was alive with chaos, attendants rushing, voices shouting, masks scattered across the floor. Word of the regent's fall had spread like wildfire. "Elena," a voice shouted from behind. Guards surged forward, masked and armed. The masked woman shoved a dagger into Elena's hand. "Can you fight?" Elena's fingers tightened around the hilt. "I can try." They sprinted through the grand hall, chandeliers swaying overhead. The voices of the freed names still lingered faintly in Elena's mind, whispering courage, guiding her steps. At the east wing, 2 guards blocked their path. Elena raised the dagger, her pulse racing, but before she could strike, Clara appeared from the shadows. With a swift motion, she pulled a cord tight around one guard's throat and kicked the other to the ground. Both fell silent. Elena stared, stunned. Why help me?" Clara's chest heaved, her eyes glassy. "Because if you burn, I burn too. I'm tied to you now, whether I like it or not." They reached the outer courtyard. The cold night air hit Elena like a wave of freedom. But beyond the gates, torches flared. More figures were gathering, blocking the way. The masked woman cursed under her breath. "They're already regrouping." Elena looked back at the mansion, its towers, its windows glowing with firelight, and something shifted inside her. She wasn't just running. She wasn't just escaping. She was taking the first step in a war. "We're not going to outrun them," Elena said, her voice steady. "Not tonight. But we can outsmart them." The masked woman's brows furrowed. "What are you thinking?" Elena clutched the scorched ledger to her chest, the names whispering at the edge of her thoughts. "If they want me, then I'll give them a reason to fear me." She raised the book high. The torches flickered, the air vibrating with unseen power. The circle's soldiers hesitated, stepping back in uncertainty. For the first time, they weren't looking at prey. They were looking at the storm's chosen vessel. And Elena knew, her war with the circle had only just begun. The torches flickered, but the circle's soldiers did not advance. They stared at Elena as if she were something unnatural, something more dangerous than the regent himself. The ledger pulsed in her arms, whispering fragments of names and lives freed from chains. The masked woman leaned close, whispering urgently, "This won't hold them forever. We need to vanish." Elena nodded, lowering the ledger. The soldiers wavered, but fear bound them more than loyalty. That moment of hesitation was enough. Clara pointed toward a side passage through the gardens, and together, the 3 of them fled into the night. The air outside was raw with the scent of pine and smoke. They slipped into the forest, their gowns catching on brambles, their breath ragged from running. Finally, miles from the mansion, the masked woman slowed, pulling back her hood. "My name is Leora," she said at last, the emerald silk mask dangling in her hand. "I served the circle for 15 years. But now, I serve no one." Elena's voice was hoarse. "Why risk everything for me?" Leora's gaze was sharp, unwavering. "Because you broke the regent. You've done what no one else dared. That makes you dangerous, and it makes you hope." They reached a hunting cabin, abandoned but intact, its wooden beams weathered with moss. Inside, the air was thick with dust, but it was safe. Clara collapsed onto a bench, her hands shaking. "You don't understand," she said quietly. "The regent was only one pillar. The circle is everywhere. Cities, courts, guilds, their hands reach into everything. Killing him won't stop them." Elena sat opposite her, clutching the ledger. Then we don't just kill them. We dismantle them. Clara's eyes widened, fear flashing across her face. That's suicide. Elena's lips curved into the faintest smile. Maybe, but it's also freedom. That night, while Clara slept fitfully and Leora sharpened her blade by the fire, Elena opened the ledger again. The pages were scorched, but the names still glowed faintly. She ran her fingers across them and felt their whispers, not screams now, but guidance. One name rose above the rest. A name she didn't recognize, but one that pulsed with urgency. Marius Vale. Elena's breath caught. Whoever Marius was, the voices believed he mattered. She closed the book, the crackle of the fire reflected in her eyes. The regent was gone. But the circle lived on. And if she wanted to destroy it, she'd have to find Marius Vale and uncover why the voices trusted him. The cabin's fire burned low, throwing restless shadows across the walls. Elena sat hunched over the ledger, its scorched edges crackling faintly in the heat. Most names had dimmed into silence, but one glowed stubbornly, Marius Vale. The whispers rose when she traced the letters with her fingertip. Find him. He knows the path. He can break the chain. Elena's pulse quickened. She didn't know him, but the voices carried a certainty she couldn't ignore. Leora leaned against the doorframe, arms folded. That name again? Elena nodded. The voices won't let it rest. Whoever he is, he's important. Leora's jaw tightened. Then we'll need to be careful. If the voices know his name, the circle knows it too. By dawn, they set out for the nearest town, cloaks pulled tight, the ledger hidden beneath Elena's skirts. Clara walked a step behind, her face pale, her silence heavier than words. The town of Greymore greeted them with cobbled streets and market stalls, the smell of bread mingling with soot. At first glance, it was ordinary. But Elena saw it now, the circle's fingerprints in every corner. A guild hall marked with their crest. Traders whispering in masks of velvet. Even the magistrates' men bore silver chains at their collars. Clara's voice was barely audible. I told you. Their reach is everywhere. Elena's stomach nodded. The regent had been one head of the serpent. Here was the body. At a tavern tucked into a crooked alley, they found the first clue. A drunk merchant, face slack with ale, mumbled about a man named Vale who'd once defied the guildmasters. They said he vanished, the merchant slurred. But some say he still walks in the Iron Quarter, hiding from their chains. Leora's eyes sharpened. The Iron Quarter. The slums. If he's there, he's either desperate or dangerous. Elena's grip on the ledger tightened. Then that's where we go. But before they could leave, a commotion stirred outside. Boots on stone. The tavern door slammed open. Masked enforcers flooded in, silver chains gleaming on their coats. One barked, by order of the circle, the regent has fallen. All suspected traitors will be seized. Clara froze, her eyes darting to Elena. Leora drew her dagger, teeth bared. The leader of the enforcers scanned the room, his gaze stopping on Elena's face. He stepped closer, his voice dripping with recognition. You, he said softly. The Stormbringer. The tavern went silent. The tavern froze in silence, mugs of ale halfway to lips, dice halted mid-roll. All eyes fixed on Elena as the enforcer's words hung heavy in the air. The Stormbringer. Elena's breath caught. He had recognized her. Not as Ethan. Not even as Elena. But as something far more dangerous. Leora stepped in front of her, blade drawn. We don't want trouble, she growled. The enforcer smirked beneath his mask. Then you shouldn't have brought the storm here. He raised his hand. Seize them. Chaos erupted. Tables overturned, glass shattered, screams filled the air. The enforcers surged forward, chains gleaming in the lamplight. Clara ducked low, pulling Elena toward the back door. We can't fight them all, she hissed. But the ledger pulsed under Elena's cloak, its whispers igniting like sparks in her veins. She felt the storm rising again, the voices of the freed, waiting for her command. No, Elena said, her voice trembling but strong. We can't just run. An enforcer lunged, chain whipping through the air. Elena raised her hand instinctively, and the chain froze mid-swing, caught in invisible force. Gasps filled the tavern as the air vibrated, mugs rattling on broken tables. The storm burst from her in a shockwave. Windows shattered, the floorboards cracked, and half the enforcers were thrown against the walls. For a heartbeat, silence followed. Every eye in the tavern was on her. The enforcers scrambled to their feet, shaken but not broken. Their leader pointed, his voice sharp. "She carries the regent's power. Take her alive." Leora slashed her dagger across another chain, sparks flying. "Elena, decide now, fight or flee." Clara's voice cracked. "If you unleash too much, you'll draw every circle hand in the city." Elena's chest burned, the whispers in the ledger rising to a roar. "Strike. Flee. Burn. Hide." Her hand trembled. She could let the storm loose and end them here, but the city would see her as a monster. Or she could run, keep her secret for longer, but risk letting the circle regroup. The enforcers advanced again, chains glowing faintly with unnatural light. Elena's joy tightened. Her next choice would shape everything. She clenched the ledger to her chest, raised her free hand, and spoke. "I am not yours to claim." The storm answered.